Good evening, welcome to APTN National News Weekend. I'm Dennis Ward. 2 nurses in Joliette, Quebec have been fired for making racist comments towards an Atikamekw woman. Following the death of Joyce Echaquan late last year, focus shifted to the Indigenous experience in healthcare. But as Lindsay Richardson reports, the issue of systemic racism extends to other cultural groups as well.
After Joyce Echaquan died in agony last September, Quebec said a similar incident couldn't and wouldn't happen again. But for the Atikamekw Nation, the allegations of racism leveled against healthcare staff keep piling on.
Le gouvernement du Québec est fautif. Son système de santé publique est fautif en rapport aux minorités culturelles.
First was Echaquan's death at Joliette Hospital, when a live stream captured caregivers hurling racial slurs. Then there was Georges Hervé Awashish, a man from Apitsawan who died at Chicoutimi Hospital days after alleging he overheard nurses ridiculing the Echaquan case while threatening his life. And now there's Jocelyn Ottawa's allegations of mistreatment at a public clinic also in Joliette.
Totally unacceptable, inhumane, I would say. It's like adding insult to injury.
AFNQL Regional Chief Ghislain Picard posted about the incident over the weekend. Jocelyn Ottawa hails from Manawan, the same community as Joyce Echaquan. On Friday, she sought treatment at a Joliette clinic. And according to Picard, quote, she was the subject of intimidation, mockery, and harassment. The staff from the clinic saw her name and told her, I think we'll just call you Joyce.
C'est inacceptable de faire des commentaires dégradants de même envers des patients autochtones. C'est juste, c'est du racisme, c'est la discrimination systémique pure et simple.
The regional health authority overseeing the Joliette clinic confirmed Tuesday the nurses in question were fired. In a statement, Quebec's Indigenous Affairs Ministry said, quote, this shocking event is a reminder of the importance of concrete cultural security measures so we can offer the Atikamekw community of Manawan equitable access, free of discrimination, to services. But the problems in healthcare are widespread in Quebec.
S'il vous plaît, aidez-moi.
Please help me, pleaded Mireille Jomwo, a refugee from Cameroon, in a video live-streamed last week from a hospital on the south shore of Montreal. In it, she claims she was purposely injected with medication she was allergic to.
Ma bouche est paralysée, mes lèvres sont paralysées. Mon visage aussi est gonflé. Mes yeux.
Days later, she died. An investigation is now underway.
Ils veulent me tuer.
And that's not all. On Wednesday morning, La Presse reported an internal investigation is underway at the Saint-Eustache Hospital following discovery of job postings seeking white applicants only. The same hospital drew fire in January after a Mohawk elder from Ganazadage was discharged, according to his wife, without clothes or a jacket.
He had a soiled diaper and he had socks on. He had no clothes, nothing from Saint-Eustache Hospital, not even a blanket.
For Flamand, there's little relief in Quebec's promise of more sensitivity workshops because the 2 fired clinic nurses had already taken them.
C'est pas réaliste. La confiance n'est pas là. Les membres de la communauté n'ont pas confiance au système de la santé.
As the complaints add up, Quebec continues to say it will fight racism without acknowledging that the problem just might be systemic. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
Birth alerts are now prohibited in 6 Canadian provinces, but not in Quebec, not by a long shot. A recent investigation by APTN shows that one region of the province with a large Indigenous population has a birth alert on average every second day. Lindsay Richardson reads this story by Sylvie Ambrose.
Il y en a qui ont très peur, même aujourd'hui, au moment où on se parle, d'aller à l'hôpital et donner naissance à l'hôpital.
Lucien Wabananek works for Minu Obigawazin, an organization that works with youth protection services in 4 Anishinaabe First Nations, including his home community of Lac-Simon, about 5.5 hours northwest of Montreal. Wabananik has a lot to say on the practice of social services targeting mothers and taking their children soon after they've given birth. also known as a birth alert.
Moi, je crois qu'il y a encore beaucoup de signalements à la naissance, ce qui est extrêmement malheureux et déplorable, je dirais même inacceptable, parce que c'est pas sûr que toutes ces femmes qui donnent naissance, ils ont des situations difficiles ou sociales. Donc, moi, je crois qu'il y a encore un profilage racial dans ces différents hôpitaux-là ici en Abitibi-Témiscamingue.
The National MMIWG inquiry made abolishing birth alerts one of their calls to justice, calling the practice racist and discriminatory.
Le Québec, je pense que doit arrêter de se mettre la tête dans le sable et reconnaître qu'il y a vraiment un racisme systémique dans leurs institutions.
British Columbia, Ontario, and Manitoba officially prohibited birth alerts months ago. Saskatchewan and Prince Edward Island became the last provinces to ban the practice in early February.
Il y a encore des signalements à la naissance à l'hôpital de Val-d'Or, mais aux alentours probablement aussi où nos Premières Nations habitent en ville, dépendamment des endroits où ils habitent.
An access to information request by APTN shows Wabanonic is correct. From April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020, the 5 hospitals in the Abitibi-Témiscamingue region registered 198 birth alerts. The most common reason for an alert is serious risk of negligence, which appears 74 times, or 37% of the total. 80 reports, or 40%, were from the Val-d'Or Hospital. Of those reports, nearly half were for serious risk of negligence. The Val-d'Or Hospital also has a reputation. It was the subject of several testimonies from the Vieille Commission, the Quebec inquiry into relations between Indigenous peoples and the province's public services. The Regional Health Authority cannot tell us how many alerts were for Indigenous mothers. Wabanonic says it's a lot, and that there are better ways to help new mothers whose children may be at risk.
Dépendamment des régions, des communautés, des besoins des communautés, ces éléments-là doivent être rapidement, vraiment très rapidement mis en place pour qu'on puisse répondre aux besoins aux femmes qui donnent naissance dans les hôpitaux. Puis on a besoin de les supporter, c'est important.
APTN requested an interview with the Quebec Minister of Health and Social Services, Lionel Carman. The minister was not available, but provided a statement. He defends the birth alert system by citing a study of teenagers who want to maintain this service. He adds that, quote, the decision to use an unborn baby alert is a clinical decision based on risk factors and not on the cultural identity of families, and that the practice does not necessarily lead to a removal of the child at birth, but rather to a report that will be processed and assessed against the Youth Protection Law, which, where appropriate, leads to the appropriate support for families. Wabanonic says birth alerts have a hidden cost to his community.
Moi, je sais bien, pour l'avoir eu connaissance puis l'avoir vu certaines choses dans ma communauté ici au Lac-Simon, il y a des jeunes femmes qui se sont enlevées la vie.
Meanwhile, the Health Ministry acknowledges there are issues. They are waiting for the final report of the Commission on the Rights of Children to be released on April 30th. A story by Sylvie Ambroise, APTN National News, Montreal.
To the pandemic now, and the Puktuti Inuit Women of Canada launched an awareness campaign this past week promoting the COVID-19 vaccine, as Inuit 18 and over will soon be eligible for vaccination. The campaign is in response to misconceptions and fears of the healthcare system. Jamie Pachagumscum explains.
Historically, Puktuti Inuit Women of Canada President Rebecca Kudlu says Inuit have many reasons to be hesitant to get vaccinated.
Some Inuit might be hesitant. It's the historic mistreatment that we received in when we had TB, or in the past, even in the present day systemic racism that Inuit experience in the healthcare system.
But Puktuti says when it comes to COVID-19, it's time to toss those misgivings aside. This is their promotional video targeting Inuit youth. Their message is that none of us are safe until all of us are safe. It features their spokesperson, Annie Buscemi, who is a popular social media personality, and winner of Puktuti's 2020 Young Inuk Woman of the Year award. She promotes Inuit mental health and says vaccinations are extremely important.
Today, I feel hopeful that there is now also a way for Inuit youth to be proud of our culture and to keep physically healthy too. That way is by getting the COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available to you. Knowing that so many Inuit have a chance to get the COVID-19 vaccine makes me feel so grateful that by getting the vaccine, we can protect ourselves, protect our elders, and protect our whole community.
Connie Sadul is the executive director of the Aqua Civic Family Health Clinic in Ottawa, where they have inoculated over 1,000 Inuit in Ottawa to date.
There are a lot of community members that don't want to take, are not used to being in a prioritization category. So we do have to walk through that and reassure and support that, yes, Inuit you as a Inuit community member, you deserve this vaccine and come and get it if you want it.
Jamie Pashagamskam, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Time to step aside for a quick break. Still to come, another setback for Indigenous athletes. Welcome back. A traditional ceremony was held in Vancouver to welcome the arrival of vaccines for elders. APTN's Tina House was there and has this story.
It's finally the day that everyone here at the Luma Medical Clinic has been waiting for, the arrival of the COVID-19 vaccines.
This is a time to celebrate and a time to feel hope, a time to feel hope that we're close to the end of this pandemic.
Elders Saislem led a traditional ceremony outside, offering a smudge and prayers for the vaccines. Marge White is the first to get vaccinated, and she was welcomed in with a traditional song.
And you're going to get the Pfizer vaccine today.
This is the arm where I got my shot. I don't feel anything right now. I don't even feel, prick or anything, and so I'm sure that I'm going to be fine and look forward to my second shot in about a month, and so yeah. So it's good. I feel great today. I'm happy that I got the shot.
Luma Native Housing operates the Luma Medical Clinic, which is hosting the elders' vaccinations. Norsa Mongrain works at the clinic, which is now in its 5th year. She says it's a special place.
We're righting the wrongs in healthcare. A lot of the patients that I see in counseling have actually been harmed by the health system in residential schools, Indian hospitals, TB Indian hospitals, and there was a lot of fear around it. And so by doing it this way, we're trying to ease some of that fear.
Reginald Percival is Nishka, and his traditional territory has had a COVID-19 outbreak recently. He also just lost his sister-in-law from COVID-19 2 weeks ago.
This, I think, is a positive move for us to be getting a vaccination. I want to encourage all Aboriginal people to try and get a vaccination when the opportunity is available.
And we're so happy today to be able to honor the elders who are coming forward to get vaccinated, to demonstrate to their families how important it is to protect themselves and to protect the people that they love around them.
The vaccinations are just for the elders for now, but Luma Medical Clinic hopes to roll out more vaccinations for other age groups in the next few months. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
It's been a tough year for Northern Indigenous athletes. Around this time last March, it was announced the 2020 Arctic Winter Games in Whitehorse were canceled due to the pandemic. Now the 2022 Games in Wood Buffalo, Alberta are postponed until further notice. APTN Sarah Connors caught up with some athletes to see how they've been coping with the disappointing news.
Emma Tom Tom is a Selkirk First Nation athlete.
Archery is mostly mental, and it's always you and the bow and your goals.
This time last year, the 19-year-old was training for her first Arctic Winter Games. The 2020 Games in Whitehorse would have been the first year archery was included. Then,
it is out of an abundance of caution today that I have recommended the cancellation of the 2020 Arctic Winter Games.
To hear that maybe my first Arctic Winter Games that I would have ever gone to was like canceled, and it was a big bummer for me and I was upset.
She wanted to keep sharp, but COVID kept her off the range.
29. There's just, a few months where I just had no space to practice and had to stop shooting for a bit.
With an opportunity like this, you just gotta enjoy all of it.
Last year, we caught up with Kudawat Shorty Henyu as he was training to compete in all 10 male open sports. A year later, the 23-year-old says the cancellation was a big blow for young northern athletes, as larger-scale events like the Arctic Winter Games don't happen often.
These sports things, they're stepping stones for not only just First Nations athletes and whatnot, it's like every athlete out there. Right now, I guess it's for the best, but then again, it's more restless athletes, I guess.
He says the cancellation was also personally disheartening.
I was really training for my last year, actually. I was putting a lot of work because I wanted this one to be like my send-off.
Adding to the disappointment, next year's Arctic Winter Games in Wood Buffalo, Alberta have been postponed until further notice.
Initially, I was just disappointed and gutted for the kids.
Arctic sports instructor Eric Porter says it's disappointing because the games are more than just sports for Northern Indigenous athletes.
The Dene Games and the Arctic sports, those are the two main things that they get to actually represent their cultural side as well. It's not mainstream, right? So these are only happen at these sort of games or competitions in Alaska, which we still don't have access to as well.
However, he says athletes are hopeful for the future.
They've honestly been pretty optimistic and positive. They're just like, okay, next games, let's look forward.
As for Tom Tom, she's still aiming for her next shot at the competition, whenever that may be.
Got me to be working harder and practicing more and looking forward for the future competitions I could compete in.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Such amazing games. I know I'll keep my fingers crossed for 2022. Time for one more quick break, but coming up, a story that will lift your spirits and get your toes tapping. Stick around. Welcome back. It's been a year now, of course, since the pandemic lockdown started. The Prince Albert and Meadow Lake Tribal Councils hosted a massive online event this past weekend to try to lift spirits. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has more.
I want to apologize to all the First Nations. Sorry to interrupt your Facebook bingo.
Many entertainers and leaders took part in the virtual gathering titled All in This Together. The main message was even though people have been living through the pandemic for over a year, it's important to keep staying safe.
The mask, the gloves, the hand sanitizer, and getting the vaccine are what's going to protect our families, protect our homes, protect our children, protect our grandchildren and our elders in our communities.
Performers like Ken Biggity entertained the online audience.
Boy, here's some voices. Well, the boss is gone too. Hey, what are you doing? Holy smoke. Nothing. Get out of here. It's my interview. Gee whiz, I thought it was for me. Get out of the way, boy. Oh, okay, relax. Gee whiz. Hi. My name is Ken Biggity, and I work with Joliette Tribal Council here in Thompson. I'm Latif, and I'm from Turtle Island.
Biggity, who traveled to Prince Albert from Manitoba, says it's important to re-energize people's spirits through humor.
I just love being in that camera. So anyway, yeah, I talk to kids. I say, kids, just be happy. Say your prayers and make sure you exercise. Because I exercise, I can touch my toes. I can reach my foot all the way to my mouth.
Prince Albert Grand Council Vice Chief Joseph Tassani says the virtual gathering was a way to tell people that the vaccines are safe.
We were lucky enough to get some of the first doses of the Moderna come into our northern communities. And once the vaccines started rolling into our communities, then we started hearing the hesitancy from some of our members.
Tassani adds that after a year, the gathering allowed people to get together.
I think it was successful because, you know, we wanted to re-energize our communities to keep going. We're almost there. Give them that extra boost to keep going. And I think the light is at the end of the tunnel, but it's still a lot of uncertainty, again, with the variant coming around.
Over 13,000 people tuned into the virtual gathering. Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
The Manitoba Métis Federation is also trying to keep people's spirits up as the pandemic continues. A Métis music van is going around the Winnipeg area and lifting morale through music. Daryl Stranger has that story.
The sounds of fiddle music are coming from this van, and its driver, Manitoba Métis Federation Vice President Alfred Buck Anderson, wants everyone to hear it. The van started out as a pilot project to expose Métis culture to people as in-person events were cancelled due to the pandemic. Now, Anderson is getting calls to go to schools, birthdays, and to cheer people up.
To me, I'm promoting my culture and heritage portfolio, and it brings happiness and joys to the people, and that shows up on the comments on Facebook and the smiles on their faces and the clapping and the dancing. That's what keeps me going.
The van caught the attention of the Selkirk Biz, which supports local businesses in the city. Anderson and the Selkirk Red River Métis Local, where he is based out of, were given the Business Excellence Award, which recognizes resiliency and determination throughout 2020. This year, the eligibility criteria was changed to allow more businesses to apply.
We felt that we wanted to do some special recognitions, speaking to the struggles and the challenges and the positive stories that actually came out of 2020. We had criteria around uplifting support, staff care and accommodation, resiliency, and just the way that people had to adapt.
Anderson said he hopes to upgrade the van to allow a built-in stage for musicians to play live music out of.
Well, my next step in this van here, I'm going to cut a 12-foot hole in the side of it, have two 6-foot doors that'll come open, and I'll have a live band in there. So I can go stop in a corner and we can do a 10-15 minute show, close the door, go to the next corner, do another one. So that's bringing live music to the people also.
So if you hear loud fiddle music, you'll know to look for the signature blue and white flag of the Métis Nation and the Métis Music Van. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Just amazing. Well, it's time for us to jig our way on out of here. Not literally, because I have no skills, but that is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this weekend. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.